Nottingham Forest are in for a marquee player, and this player is an absolute beast. Welcome to your Forest transfer news. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest transfer news. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Youssouf Fofana. In my opinion, if Forest pull this off, is a marquee signing. We've got talks about a certain left winger on his way out, and a correction on a price of a valuation of a player that is linked with Nottingham Forest, and plenty of other things to discuss. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And let's jump into the news. Okay, so let's start talking about Youssouf Fofana. And in my opinion, if Forest pull this off, this is a marquee signing, the one we were promised. And does it come as any surprise that once George Syrianus has come back into the fold, suddenly the transfer window has picked up? Syrianus, don't forget, who was sacked after the Leicester game, along with Dane Murphy and the rest of that recruitment team, has suddenly been brought back in, and suddenly we're starting to see links that should be exciting you. And this, for me, is one that really should. Why? Because he's exactly what we need. Is he as good as Sangare? No, not quite. But he isn't exactly miles behind him. He's pretty much there or thereabouts. He plays for Monaco. 47 appearances, 2 goals. I don't care about the 2 goals. He's not in the team to score goals. What he does brilliantly is his physique, the way he knocks players off the ball. It's like swatting flies off him. He's that strong and he's that physical. And then he turns their attacks into our attacks. And that's why I think he's better than, say, the likes of Tyler Adams, because of the way he does the transition on the pitch. I really like him. If we pull this off, wow, what a signing that would be, in my opinion. On top of that, he's a French international. Yes, I know, historically over the last 12 months, Forest and the French have not really got on too well, have they? If we look at the likes of Bardi, Biancone, etc. But he even went to the World Cup. So this guy has pedigree from his toe to his head, man. Literal pedigree, and is exactly the player we need in this team. Now, in terms of the bid itself, Forest have made a verbal offer of 35 million euros, which is about 30 million pounds. And what does a verbal offer mean? It's something that some clubs do. Manchester United, for example, do it a lot. They before they put the formal offer in, and this is what Forest have done, they'll speak to Monaco and tell them, this is the number we're looking to table. How do you guys feel about it? Obviously, the conversation is a lot more formal and technical than that. And then based on the response they get back, that's when they then formalize it into an actual offer. So there still is a few phases and no doubt a lot of hurdles to get through on this deal. But Monaco will accept that amount of money for Fofana. And I would like to think that Forest have already spoken to his agent and had decent, buying signs from him that he would be prepared to join Nottingham Forest. So overall, I'm slowly getting excited by this one. We mentioned him to you guys yesterday on the video, and I wasn't convinced. But now I feel the sourcing on it is good. The structure of the deal sounds good, and everything is pointing in the right direction. Now, there are some questions that need to be addressed. How can we suddenly find 30 odd million pounds for Fofana, but we could only put in 21 million pounds for Sangare and ask for a loan first? And again, this is just my opinion on it. I'm not basing it on anything I've heard or been told, but it must indicate to the whole Jono deal being heavily down the road, be that with Chelsea, be it with Spurs, be it with whoever. And I will say this is smart by Nottingham Forest. They need to get their players in. If they're going to spend the Jono money, they need to spend that before they sell Jono. Because everyone knows in football, look at West Ham, for example. Everyone knows they've sold Declan Rice for 100 odd mil. Everyone knows that maybe Paqueta's going to go to Man City and they're going to have a stockpile of cash burning a hole in their pocket. And that will increase and inflate the prices asked. It's like if with Chelsea coming in for Jono, I would expect Forest to charge Chelsea more for a Jono being charged to Chelsea should be higher than, say, a Brentford coming in, because Forest will have some rough idea of how much money Chelsea actually do have. So I think it's smart if this is the case. And this isn't, get rid of Jono or keep Jono debate. I'm just talking about it purely from a business perspective. The right play here is to get these players in with the Jono money before he goes, if he goes. But the indications to me are pointing at the fact that he will be going based on this. So back to Fofana. How does he fit into the team? Like a glove, I would say, like an absolute glove. He will dictate the tempo. He will make sure that we can release players forward. You can play him in a 2 with no problems. He is so physical. You guys are going to love him if he turns up at the City ground. And on top of that, he's got international pedigree. And I'm getting seriously excited by this one. And I just hope this one gets done quickly. I don't see a reason why it should delay, especially if what I think about the whole Jono thing is correct. Forest will need to get this one over the line, or at least agreed with Monaco, so that, everything's in place before the Jono announcement happens. So get slightly excited, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, because there are now talks that, and it's not from Liverpool, but from their fan bases and some influencers, that they should hijack this deal from Nottingham Forest, because everyone knows him as such a good CDM player in that midfield that people may start to talk and get hijacked. And that's another reason why Forest need to push this one through quickly. Get in there, get out before anyone else even knows you've done it, It's like farting in a crowded room, man. Let that fart go, leg it out of there, and let someone else take the blame. Just move on as quick as you can. So this one for me gets my full 1,000,000% approval. Forest, good job if you can get this one over the line. It will be perfect for what we need to do. Are you guys hyped up about this one? Or would some of you want to see that 30 million being pushed into the Sangare deal? Look, honestly, hand on heart, if you said to me, pick one between Fofana and Sangare, I'd go Sangare. But I'm not going to be disappointed if we can't get him and we do get Fofana. The other thing to note about Sangare, as I've said so many times this window, I just don't feel like there's been buying signs from him to Forest to come and get him. Whereas with Fofana, we're not seeing any kind of, pushbacks from him. So I probably would rather have someone who maybe is slightly not as good as Sangare, but is keen on the move to Nottingham Forest coming, than Sangare, who may find his options run out at the end of the transfer window and then comes to Forest begrudgingly. And I think in that scenario, I would prefer Fofana, but he is not a better player. Get your thoughts in on this one. This is really exciting news. I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Okay, let's move on to our second story today. We're going to do a kind of in, out, shake it all about. So we've done a potential in. Now let's talk about a potential out, and that is my boy Emmanuel Dennis, who could be on the move back down to London with Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson is a huge fan of Emmanuel Dennis, and he sees the potential in him that maybe some of you guys do see as well. And there is talks that they are getting serious about bringing him in, almost as a Zaha replacement, because they still haven't filled that void that he has left. And now that they've re-secured Elise on a 4-year deal, it looks like Crystal Palace are going on the offensive rather than the defensive in terms of their recruitment strategy. Now, would this suit Palace? Yes, he would slot right in. Obviously, he's quite used to London, having played in Watford, even though that's not really London, but you know what I mean? So I think that would suit them. Does it suit Nottingham Forest? Well, yes, while Cooper's still here, Nottingham Forest is not the place for Emmanuel Dennis. He's clearly been sidelined from Cooper, and he's not in that kind of band of brothers under the players Cooper wants to see on the pitch. So maybe it is the right time to let Dennis go. At the very least, we should get maybe 7 to 10 million if we can recruit some or most of the money on him. I don't expect us to be able to get the full whack. But if we do, again, maybe that's Cyrinos working his magic. I've got to say, though, on this Ross Wilson thing and Cyrinos, it's starting to make me question Ross Wilson and how effective he has been so far over the summer. I said I'd give him the full transfer window before I start casting judgment, but it's clear to see that his movements in the transfer market have not been good or effective or quick enough. At the same time, you can probably give him credit for the likes of Einar, for the likes of Alanga, and obviously the third player we brought in Turner. But in terms of the overall strategy, it feels like there's been 6 million bids put in on players over the summer and not much return. But overall, I'm still holding judgment on him. But it does make me wonder why things have moved so quickly now that George is back in the fold. But anyway, back to Dennis. I think he'll be happy to go to Crystal Palace. I think the place, the team play, and everything would suit his style. And I think this could happen. The problem is, though, he does carry around that reputation with him. I remember when we signed him from Watford, and there was all these rumours about how the Watford players were celebrating as soon as he exited the door. I don't think that's the same with Nottingham Forest. I feel he's very close with a few players there and some key players, the likes of Owoni, for example. They seem to have formed a great bond. Aurier as well. They seem to be in this nice little clique going together. So I don't think there's any animosity between him and the players. I think it's more between him and management. Yes, there have been talks about his attitude, about how he can be hard to work with. But in his defense, what I would say is surely his annoyance has come from lack of minutes on the pitch rather than because that's his personality. Had he been given more minutes on the pitch, maybe we would see a different attitude with him. But this one makes sense, even though personally I would keep him because I think there's a great player in him. Let's see how this one develops. But Dennis looks like he could finally be on the move from Nottingham Forest. All right, so let's move on to a correction. And that was from our story yesterday about Nuno Tavares from Arsenal. We told you 22 million was what Arsenal wanted. Well, apparently they're looking more for a package around the 30 million pound mark. But this left back who got destroyed at the City ground in 34 minutes. This left back who's famous for his assist against Liverpool and for kissing dogs. Look, at this stage, I didn't want him at 10 to 15 million. I definitely don't want him at 30 million. And if Forest get him for 30 million, then I seriously question how hard they pushed the Lodi deal when he ended up for 11 million. And that is going to be my barometer. I know I'm being hypocritical by saying, let players go, don't hold on to the past. But you can when it comes to comparing prices. There is no way that Nuno is 3 times now nearly the player of Lodi. It's just not worth it. And my original point still stands. Einar has started well. I don't see any reason why we should yet doubt him. Obviously, he's only played 1 competitive game against Arsenal, but overall, he has been quite impressive for me. And what's going on with Omar Richards? Where is he? He's released his videos basically stating he's ready, and we haven't even seen him near a squad, let alone a team sheet. So what's going on there? Is he another one that Cooper just doesn't fancy? Who knows? But this one for me, if the reports are true, and if Arsenal are crazy enough to try and get 30 million for him, then walk away Nottingham Forest. I don't believe him. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't believe him. 30 million is ridiculously overpriced. 15 is the absolute max valuation he should have. And 30 is just Arsenal taking the mick. It really is. But get your thoughts in on this down below. All right, guys, let's move on to the next story. And they are coming thick and fast at the moment with Nottingham Forest. And that's Nicolas Dominguez from Bologna, the 25-year-old who had 34 games for them and 3 goals last season. Apparently, Forest have made an offer for him. Now, this isn't sourced very well, and it wouldn't really make too much sense if we really are in for Fofana. Although he can play at CDM, he's more almost a box-to-box player. Very good, very physical, very aggressive. And I do like him as well. World Cup winner with Argentina. So real pedigree under his belt. His valuation is probably somewhere in and around the 14 to 15 million pound mark. Good player, but I don't think Forest will be getting him and Fofana. Maybe Forest are looking at this one as a backup if anything were to fall through with the Fofana deal. And again, I'm not convinced on the sources on this one. So as always, I'll say once it develops, once I'm more convinced by the story, I will let you guys know. But as it's in the news, as we always say, we don't make the news, we just break it DX style. I just thought I'd bring it to your guys' attention. But what do you guys think of him? Do you like him? Would you like to see him in the Garibaldi at the City Ground? Or is Fofana the one for you? Now, there is a scenario where we could get both. I think it's very unlikely, but I think both of them alongside each other would create a great partnership at Nottingham Forest. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Because the only way this could happen is if the rumours about Danilo are true. If Danilo were to go, and there have been some very weird links in the papers over the last 24 hours about Liverpool being interested and Tottenham being interested in Danilo, and they just made me spit my drink out. 30 million as well is the price they are talking about. Danilo, that's an insult. That wouldn't buy his left boot, man. That wouldn't buy a toenail. Really? Danilo at 30 million? No, thank you. So those stories to me are all paper talks, maybe some agent talks, maybe some people trying to drum up some interest or fill in some column inches. But let's pretend for a second it is, and then this would make more sense if that's the case. I do not see Forest selling Danilo this window. I think even in January it would be too early, especially as we have him under a 6-year contract. He signed for a 6.5-year deal. I think the fee was in and around 16 to 18 million pounds. Yes, 30 million would nearly double the investment in the space of 6 months, but his ceiling is so much higher than that. He hasn't even learned the language yet. He hasn't settled down fully, in my opinion, and I think we've seen 1/10 of his ability so far. And that 1/10 has been amazing, especially at the back end of last season. So take this story and the Danilo story with a major pinch of salt. I do not buy either one right now. But if they were to be true, this one would make more sense to me. But get your thoughts in down below. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that brings you up to date with your Nottingham Forest news. There are a few other stories going on, but I don't want to get into them yet. Again, I still want to see those develop. Don't forget though, tonight is the big one. The scum are coming to the City Ground and Forest are gonna smash them. We of course will have the watch along for you from 7:15 tonight. I can't wait for it. Oh, this is gonna be so sweet. We're gonna smash them. Don't say Jinxerine. Don't say Jinxerine. But fear not, if you want some more content, we got this lovely video on FFTV High Press for you on Isaac or Isaac, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So go check that out right now. But before you go and check that out, make sure firstly you've hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll see you tonight at 7:15 for the watch along. And come on, you Reds.